Good morning. We are finishing up Jonah, and I want to spend the next few days wrapping this up with some reflections about verse 10 and 11 and really strike at some principles for how you embrace God's concern. So I want to read chapter 4, verse 10 and 11 because, again, the culmination of this book, and even its kind of cliffhanger ending where we never hear about Jonah, whether Jonah gets it or he doesn't. And why is that? Well, I think the reason for that is that the text is really asking you and I to, in a way, how would we respond to this situation? Would we be like Jonah? Would we be hardened? Would we be sitting up on the hill waiting for God to do what we wanted him to do? Or would we have something within us that could bring our life in alignment with God so that his concerns could become our concerns? So verse 10 says, and the Lord said, he's responding to Jonah's statement that he's angry enough to die. The Lord said, you pity the plant, you're concerned for the plant, you're moved by the plant for which you did not labor, nor did you make it grow, which came into being in a night and perished in a night. He's saying this plant's trivial. And should I not pity Nineveh, that great city in which there are more than 120,000 persons who do not know their right hand from their left, and also much cattle? He's using an argument from the lesser to the greater, and he's saying, if you're concerned about a plant, how much more should I be concerned about people? And he's hearkening to Jonah, trying to knock into Jonah's head, waken him to his rightful senses that his heart does not align with God's heart at all. One of my favorite authors, Mark Buchanan, writes a little bit about this, and I want to highlight it for you. Buchanan, in his book, Your God is Too Safe, says the following: is God solely or mostly interested in our obedience? Oh, God wants our obedience, but actually he wants something deeper down than that. Bare obedience can harden us to God more than disobedience can. Think about that. Bare obedience, just gutting it out, can sometimes harden us more than disobedience, he says. If you doubt it, compare the older boy with the younger one in the parable of the prodigal. Compare the Pharisees and religious rulers with the tax collectors and prostitutes in the story about Jesus, or just look at Jonah. Obedience by itself can make our heart withered and bitter and barren as a husk. What is God mostly interested in? Strangely, anticlimactically, it has to do with concerns, with what we fix our hearts on, with what stirs us in the depths and makes us rise to the heights. What are we concerned about? Is it what God is concerned about? Both Jonah's disobedience and his obedience rise up from the same source, from what he's concerned about. He's concerned about himself. He's looking for the path of least resistance, the way of greatest convenience. He'll do whatever he must, obey, disobey, go to Nineveh, flee to Tarshish, to get God off his back. That's a great observation. See, first thing you got to do, first principle for embracing God's concern here, is you have to be able to recognize if your priorities are really trivial and ridiculous. You've got to be honest about your priorities. You have to be honest about your concerns. So the only way to bring your concerns in line with God's concerns is to really evaluate your concerns and to honestly assess them and to see whether or not the things that move your heart are the same things that move God's heart. I hope you have a good day today. We're going to think more about this as we move on in the days ahead.